Okay, looks like it's activated live. Yep, 34 viewers. So yeah, well, I think I'll just give it until like a few minutes pass just to let people kind of find the link and click in while I figure out how to show everybody's names. All right, just checking everything. Okay, cool. Awesome. See people on YouTube kind of coming in. Thanks everyone for joining. We'll get started in just a minute. Feel free to let us know where you're from. I think I was in let's see if anybody can beat Femke's time zone for earliest arrival, and then Edward's time zone for latest arrival. If anybody can beat it, that'd be good. Okay, we've got Chicago, Ireland, Montreal. Okay. Norwich from the UK, Oslo. Awesome. Cool. I think we can go ahead and get started. It looks like the connection, everything's good. Everybody can hear okay. Seeing the numbers tick up. Awesome. Cool. Thanks everybody for joining the kickoff of Why Before UI Design Challenge. Over the next 8 weeks, you're going to be receiving prompts if you've been able to sign up that are going to help you challenge your understanding of how to utilize insights, research, as well as what the client or the product or the goals that the product is set out to do. So we're going to actually cover the topics that you will be able to tackle in the weeks. I'm going to share those in the session today. These are our judges for the weekly challenge. So it's going to go over the course of 8 weeks. Each one of these judges will be able to judge a week and select a winner for that week, which we have some cool prizes from our sponsors that we'll be sharing throughout the challenge. So we're going to go ahead and start off with Edward. And let me see if I can change the view a little bit here. Ooh. Somebody's car is driving by. Cool. So Edward works at Ticket, building products for one of Indonesia's most comprehensive online travel companies. He also gives awesome tips. I've personally been following from quite some time on Instagram and TikTok about Figma and product design. So Edward's going to be judging week number 3, which is going to focus on rebuilding from a negative experience. And I'm only going to give teasers. I'm not going to give any more information than that. So Edward, I'd like to ask you, can you think of a time when using data or research backing actually helped you push back on some stakeholder feedback that you got?
Okay. Thanks, Miranda, for the introduction. Thanks also for the kind words. I definitely do have a lot of memories around having data to just back up my designs and even giving like some pushback to stakeholders. I think it mostly comes on when stakeholders give me like very sudden requests, and I think A lot of stakeholders do that a lot, especially from board of directors, and different kind of stakeholders will suddenly request designs. So what I usually do is I will recap with my design team and my research team and our product team, and we'll kind of find actual data to actually find out if the requests from our stakeholders are actually valid. Like, do we want to see if there's actual problem? We want to see if there's an actual problem to solve. Is our users actually experiencing this problem? So from that validation is that when we can push back our stakeholders regarding their requests, because their requests might not be valid and might not be worth it to develop in the long term, especially when I'm working in quite in a corporate startup. So development, I would say, is pretty fast, and we want things to move on quickly. So we have to kind of evaluate what types of products and what types of features that we want to develop. So yeah, I think that really comes to mind quite often in my team, where we really want to validate the problems that we have and validate the requests that our stakeholders bring in. And then if it's valid, then we'll go with it with the designs. But if it's not, then we'll kind of give the reasons to our stakeholders why it's not, this request that they give isn't too worth it. But yeah, I think that's a general idea from my experience.
Nice. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, right? If you have that kind of backing and understanding, you can say, "Oh, whoa, 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 whoa." Like, what are we doing this for? What's the actual real value? Yeah, makes a lot of
Exactly.
sense.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks for that. We're going to move on to Anita. So Anita is an architect turned designer. And by the way, I just have to say, I've noticed a few architects join the challenge. So
there are many of us.
Yeah, many of you guys who've transitioned into UX. I was just saying that I've used since like 2014 architect as like the comparison to get people to understand what UX is. So it's really funny to have like real transitions. Anyways, she's an architect turned designer with 13 years of creative experience. Anita is founder of Be Your Own Design Team, where she runs the UX portfolio course to help designers build strategic portfolios. She's now working independently and also creates content about portfolios, AI, career development, all across LinkedIn, Instagram, and her newsletter. So Anita is going to be judging week 8, which will focus on tackling the complex task of designing a B2B SaaS dashboard. So, Anita.
Yes, very, very relevant from my experience.
Perfect. So when in your career or when did you realize the importance of understanding what the company or business or your team at the time like is actually trying to achieve ahead of like jumping into designs? Was it an aha moment, or was like a slow and gradual like hang on?
I think it was gradual. Although I had some situations. I worked once for an organization that was very immature, and we had a lot of sunsetted projects. So I think this was like I think the biggest realization that when we were actually starting to realize that we are lacking product strategy, that we are lacking some business goals like key OKRs, KPIs and stuff, and that nothing was connected and no one was collaborating with each other. So I think this was the moment with this. And another one, I think in some organization when I actually took a lead to set up some metrics, to set up some analytics, and because no one was doing this. And then suddenly I was, in some leadership meetings and actually trying to help people measure anything and, bring some data for, I don't know, investors, for instance. So those 2 moments.
Wow. Okay. So did I understand you correctly that you actually helped like pressure them to set up the analytics in the first place, or?
It was both sides wanted this, but there was no one who actually, wanted to lead the initiative.
Okay. Yeah, I hear that.
Yeah. So I was, partially forced, probably, but also, I wanted to learn more about this, and it actually happened in a few places when I worked for. So
Okay.
pretty
Cool.
common, I think.
Yeah, I definitely don't think you're the only designer who was like, "Hey, don't we want to know if what we're doing is actually working?"
Yeah, because before early on in my career, I was actually thinking, okay, this is a PM job. Like, where are my metrics? And
Totally, right? Yeah, yeah.
Different
it's like,
reality.
Not my job. But then it's one of those things where it's like, well, I see that nobody's going to do it, so I guess I have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Too real. Awesome. Okay, thanks for that. All right, we're going to move on to Carla. I'm just going to do this in advance. put her on the big screen. Great. So Carla helps founders build without code. She has over 25 years in design, has helped over 200 clients, and empowered 4,000 learners to launch without dev teams. And I feel like all the designers maybe can resonate right now about having to work with devs or relying on devs to get their stuff live. So that's a really cool initiative. She's also the creator of the UX and UI Hub. Carla's going to be judging week 8, which is going to be focusing on designing for scale. So how do you actually anticipate the need for scale within a product and design for that? So Carla, how has being able to translate your design solutions into business impact actually helped you within your career?
Thank you, Miranda. So it is really, I want to give you here an example that is kind of internal, because we talk a lot about of these design solutions impacting the end user, but we can also use our skills when we are in a company, inside the company itself, right? So one of the things I have done in my past is really to go around in the company and see how they do things, what have been spending time a lot in, and to help the end user, right? Because there are all these associations inside the company, like business side, the dev team, or even the sales team, trying to help the user, the customer, right, to get to understand what's the solution you are creating and how this helps them. So one of these times I did that, and I learned that this business team and sales team really were doing a lot of manual work. So I end up creating a design system to help them to manipulate the end solution, to have the brand of the customer very easily to present on those talks that they would present the material. And that really increased the amount of people the amount of companies that actually got our solution. And besides that, I really got some supporters in the team. So these people were coming back to me like, oh, we have this problem, or we heard here on the customer service that this would be something that they would actually like to see. So I think that's the way that we can really impact, and this helped my career to get these other people to listen to me and to come to me when they found that we could help and support as a designers.
Nice. So it sounds like kind of you almost had this like moment or gradual moments of going from somebody who people just came to like, hey, can you do this thing? Versus like, hey, I actually want your perspective or your opinion on what's happening and how we tackle it. So going from like a executor to a problem solver. Very cool. Yeah, that's awesome. Nice. Cool. All right. We're going to go to Aric next. So again, let me just drag and drop here. I'm definitely an expert in this tool. Let's see if it'll let me. There we go.
It will be after this stream for sure.
Cool. So Aric is a product design leader, public speaker, and a writer. Since 2022, he's been building tools for solving NetCat dilemma at ICEYE. I knew I was going to struggle with that acronym. In 2023, Aric founded Fundament, which is a newsletter read by over 2,000 product designers worldwide. And Aric is going to be judging week 4.
7.
Oh, is it 7? Sorry.
It's 7.
Wrong. Yeah, week 7, which focuses on 0 to 1 discovery. So that's your hint. So, Aric, can you think of a time when using data or research backing helped you actually push back on some stakeholder feedback that you might have gotten that you didn't necessarily agree would help the product or what you're trying to solve?
Can I flip this question?
Yeah, sure. Go for it.
If I may, I would like to share a story of one company that I worked for, where we didn't have really direct access to the customers for some weird reason, but we had a stakeholder who knew everything, and on every meeting, this person always came prepared with numbers, or at least they seem to have numbers prepared. But it really looked like the numbers are fake, because this person was really long in the field. They thought that they are the expert and they know everything best, and that's why we should follow what they think, which wasn't really true, and we were really struggling to make to change their mindset and really provide something useful for our customers. And I know that many companies and many designers struggle with the same thing.
Yeah, definitely. So what did you do?
What did I do?
Yeah.
Well, in that case, it wasn't really. I would say it was a battle that we lost. So I just switched, and sometimes you can't. You're trying really hard to show that there's another way to do products, and you will fail because there's someone up top who's blocking you and will never see the value. And however hard you try, you will not succeed. So I know it's a let's say the last resort to do, but sometimes you have to leave.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I've personally been in that situation. I'd love to know if anybody in the chat has also been in that situation where it seems like no matter what you've tried, it is falling on deaf ears. Even if you give the rationale and the reasoning, and then kind of making the difficult decision to be like, okay, well, we're not going to make any progress here. I had a similar experience where they didn't come with numbers. They just came with, I don't care what users want. I just want to do the thing that I want to do. And that was even worse because it was like, okay, you don't want to listen to people but you want to make money, right? At some point. Okay, great. Yeah. So I think people can definitely relate to that, that kind of fork in the road where you have to make the call.
Right.
Awesome. Cool. All right. We're going to move to Nema. Am I saying that right? Am I saying that right?
Nema,
every time I say it, I'm like, I'm not 100% sure. Okay, cool. Let me get you on the big screen. Nice. So Nema is a product designer, builder who entered the product world in 2010, designing and developing. So we have a unicorn in our midst. A dozen iOS games and apps. He teaches designers online, enrolling over 17,000 students from 120 countries with design courses across Udemy, Skillshare, and Maven. He's now building cool products that help designers and builders. So Nema is going to be judging week 2. So that's effectively next week. And that week's going to focus on designing for an MVP. So Nema, can you tell us when you realized the importance of understanding what a company or business is actually trying to achieve before setting out and starting your designs?
Yeah, for sure. A lot of times, companies see other companies making a certain product. So when I was working at this company, at a recruitment company, typically they would try to launch multiple products at the same time without any clear direction of why. Sometimes what I would love to do is explore the product that they want to actually create, and then also dig in to see what are the sort of, what's that product doing well, and then try to sort of bring that over to the company, but at the same time make sure that it's aligned with sort of the products that we already have and the goals that we already have in that company.
Totally. So setting out the time to kind of just talk about what are we trying to achieve, what does success look like, et cetera, et cetera. And how did you
Exactly, yeah.
How did you get to that point? How did you get to the point where wait, we need to take a moment before we start on these things? Was there a light bulb moment, or was it just you got to go down so many product routes and then things would change or pivot or too many opinions would come in? What made you come to the moment where no, we need to stop and talk about these first?
Yeah, I think it gets down to sort of the stakeholders are always kind of in a rush to launch products and launch features, and sometimes you need to slow that process down a little bit to make sure that we're not wasting resources on sort of multiple different directions, and kind of bring it into one sort of focused area at a time. And so this way you can also measure it better and keep track to see, let's say, that feature that we put out, did it actually work, as opposed to trying to do too much at once.
Yeah, nice. It makes a lot of sense. And I love the use of like, wasting resources or wasting people's time, right? Because that's also so important to companies as well. And when you utilize that understanding, like we will be wasting not just our time as individuals and as people, but your money if we continue down this route. There's a comment in the chat that says, I've been in situations where stakeholder completely overlooked research and led the conversation with, I feel. So yeah, again, kind of being able to relate to what both you and Aric can experience, and probably so many of us as well. Okay, let me move to the next one. Thank you so much. I think that was really, really interesting. So we're going to move on to Femke. Drag and drop.
Hello.
Nailed it. Okay. So Femke is a product design manager at Gusto, who has started her career in the tech giant Uber and a Canadian fintech, Wealthsimple. Femke also teaches designers how to influence product strategy with her videos over on YouTube and her podcast, Design Life. Femke is going to be judging week number 1, which starts today, by the way. The prompts are dropping in the inboxes in this call, so you're on target. And the flow is going to be focusing on improving an onboarding flow. So Femke, especially being kind of a design manager in this space, maybe what's some unique advice that you give designers who are struggling to kind of get their points across in design reviews when it comes to being able to better their business understanding?
Yeah, something I often coach people on is getting them to consider who they're speaking to. So really think about who your audience is, who your stakeholders are, who you're trying to get buy-in from, and then think about what do they really care about, or what are they motivated by? What is their goal? And so if you can craft your storytelling, your presentation, your pitch, your review, whatever it might be, in a way that can really speak to their goals and what they care about, you're much more likely to get their buy-in, get alignment, get them excited about your working on. And so, practically, for example, an engineering peer who kind of sits alongside you, you're working day to day, they're going to have very different motivations or very different goals from, let's say, a product director who maybe is a little bit further removed from the project, has different goals within the organization, probably cares more about things like OKRs or meeting shipping deadlines, things like that. So depending on who is in the room, I think crafting the narrative of your storytelling is going to help you get a long way in terms of getting the buy-in or getting the alignment that you need in order to move forward with your work.
Absolutely. That's so smart. The conversation you have or the pitch that you have to like maybe senior stakeholders versus developers looks very, very, very different. Yeah, I think that's great advice. Awesome. I think we have one more coach one more judge I'm going to mention before myself. He's going to be judging the week 4. Sorry, it's Tom. He's an ex-fintech design lead who's now coaching designers and teams with workshops and training on business fluency and sustainable freelancing. He's going to be judging week 4, like I said, and that's going to be focused on a competitive edge through AI. So he couldn't be here today. I think he said he's getting married either today or like this weekend. So we gave him a pass. We gave him a pass on joining. Awesome. Thanks so much, Femke. We'll circle back around to see if you have any more tips for the challengers. Quick introducing of myself. I'm Miranda. I'm a principal designer helping shape the strategy and vision of one of the world's leading travel companies, Booking.com. I'm also the creator of UX Survival Guide, where I share content across everywhere, but mostly LinkedIn, TikTok, Substack, and Instagram to empower designers to level up in their career by demonstrating their value beyond visuals. I'm going to be judging week 5, which is going to be focusing on designing a real client nonprofit. And let me tell you, when you see this design, you will not be able to wait to help fix it. And the last one is week 6, which is going to focus on AI for hyper-personalization. So if you didn't catch that, we actually have 2 weeks that will be utilizing AI in the solution, not in the design process, in the actual, you can if you want, but in the actual product build and design solution. Cool. Thank you so much to all the judges. What I will say to the chat, if you guys have any questions about this topic, about the challenge itself, feel free to drop them in now. I'm going to go ahead and go around. Sorry. Femke's got to jump off. I think a couple people, need to hop to another call. So we're going to lose some of our judges right now. But we'll stick around just to get a few more tips from people. I see we need to change the layout now that we've changed the layout. Cool. So say bye to our judges. Thank you all for the ones who could stick around this long. The ones who can continue to stick around, I'm going to start with Edward once again. Let me see what I wanted to ask you. What is, if you were tackling this challenge, which I know, by the way, you have one of the prompts. What advice would you give designers like ahead of jumping into doing this challenge?
Okay. I do think my answer would be more of like on the fun side, because I feel like even doing these kind of challenges, you kind of have to have fun with it, because when you're working full time or you're working freelance, you have to like be serious, and you have to like, there's actual stakeholders you have to like reply to and to think about. Whereas in this challenge, yes, we're gonna consider those in the brief, but also wanna explore your designs that you've never explored. I think that's something that I do miss when I'm working in corporate, where I already have a design system and I kind of have to just follow that design. But when I was doing this challenge, I got to like explore different kinds of apps that I have never explored and everything. So it was really nice to just explore and have fun with it as well. So yeah, I think that's just my advice. Just when you're doing this, make yourself have fun as well.
Awesome. Utilize the freedom is how I'm summarizing that. I love it. Yeah. I think I read a lot of the reasons people join this challenge were to kind of get out of their mundane day-to-day, where they're working on really tight deadlines or really high restrictions or really low scopes or something like that. So they're really looking forward to joining this challenge as a way to break out of that and do something different than they've been doing maybe for the past couple of years. So I think that aligns perfectly with kind of your recommendation. So love that. Cool. All right. Aric, what would you say? What kind of advice would you give designers who are jumping in to tackle this challenge?
In general, or my prompt?
No, we can't give too many details on what the actual prompt is. So just in general.
Okay. Yeah. Sure, for sure. Advice. I think Edward's advice was really cool. I didn't think about it earlier, that you just should have fun doing this and try new stuff. I know sometimes it can be challenging to start with a blank canvas. If you are trying to put a design or write a new article and then you're starting with blank canvas, it can be really tough in the beginning. But once you start, it always becomes a bit easier, and you go with the flow. At least that works for me. So probably you will be not able to use any design system for some of the prompts. For some, you will be using, at least following the design that is there. I can't share more. I'm sorry. But yeah, if you need to start with blank canvas, then just overcome this first step, and everything will follow and start clicking, I'm sure.
Just start. Yeah. Because like you said, it can be hard just to stare at that blank, stare at the prompt and then stare at the blank screen on how to get started. But yeah, just start putting something pen to paper and get going. I like that advice too. Cool. Nice. Femke, you have something to share. What's up? What advice do you have?
I mean, I think the advice around, having fun with it, obviously that's great. I encourage that too. Tactically though, as you're approaching these challenges, I think it's easy to get caught up in getting straight to the design work, right? Like you suddenly get this flush of ideas, you want to get visual really quickly. And so my advice would be to acknowledge that and then try to encourage yourself to take a step back and really think through, okay, what is the goal of this? Or try to articulate what is the real problem I'm solving? And I can empathize that in this case where it's, maybe a bit more of a hypothetical challenge, you might not have resources to go and validate these questions. I would instead say, how could you maybe just write a list of assumptions? So what do you think might be true? Or articulating a hypothesis and kind of using that as your guiding light going forward to start forming some opinions, maybe making a few decisions. So yeah, just taking a step back, acknowledging, okay, what is the goal? What are my assumptions? What's my hypothesis? And now how am I going to move forward from here?
Everybody who's watching, I think she just gave you the cheat code for how she's going to be judging the week 1 submissions.
Maybe not.
No, I think that's really, really great advice. I think the doing part is just, it doesn't necessarily have to be doing in terms of jumping into Figma, but it's like, yeah, start asking these questions. What are these assumptions? You don't have this real kind of back and forth, but I do think that's something incredibly valid moving forward. Because a lot of times, especially in an environment, I know I've worked in it, where you have the brief or whatever shipped over the wall, you don't actually have that real client interaction. You just kind of have to go off and do the things. And when you present it, you also need to present the assumptions that you had that you couldn't necessarily get answered at the time. So I think that's some really smart framing and way to tackle it. Cool. Thanks, Femke. I think, who was it next? Yeah, Carla, you had some tips for everybody on the challenge.
Yeah, sure. So if you are a senior designer or like working as a designer already, I would say try to use this to improve your own flow, your own workflow. Maybe use AI in a different way. Try to find other ways to measure success. Like you have there a lot of business goals and so on. So try to go also a little bit outside of industry and check how AI can help you and support you there, even giving feedback. Maybe use AI there to be this body, right? That you give you feedback, you say also to you where to improve, and use this to change your process or to try to improve it a little bit, because it's one unique opportunity for you to get your job done in a different way. I would see it like that.
Yeah, I love that. So not just thinking about like the task at hand, like the exact prompt, but like how are you expanding your processes and your skills that you can apply to your own projects, either moving forward or even looking back at some of their portfolio projects or so on. I like that because it's not just a one and done, you walk away and that's kind of where you leave it. Definitely meant to apply to future projects and kind of growing and expanding your career, right?
Exactly.
Awesome. Great advice. Nema, what do you got for us? What advice do you have for challengers?
Yeah, I would say start from like the customer's perspective, and this might sound like cliche, right? Think about it from a customer's point of view. Like everyone knows that, but it's always nice to like take a step back. If you're like working on a certain application, maybe play around with it like for a little bit, and like really try to see like based on the challenge that you have and the application that you have in front of you, like you use that as inspiration and really think about it from a customer's point of view and what you would like as a solution there. So yeah, just flip it around, see it from customer's point of view, and then echoing whatever all the other judges said, have fun with it as well.
Yeah, awesome. I love that because I mean, that's a big part of our role, right? Being able to kind of be in the shoes of the customers, even if we're so far from being that, but then being able to tie that back to what the business is actually trying to achieve, but through a customer lens. So I think that's really smart. Yeah, good advice. Cool. I have one note of advice, and I kind of dropped it in the last email that I sent. But I think the biggest thing for me is with anything like this, where it's kind of a nobody's really watching type of learning, it is what you make of it. So if you put in the extra effort, if you or you kind of flake and you just don't spend a lot of time on it, it is going to make a difference in the end. So this type of challenge is really what you make of it. What type of effort you put into it is the results that you will get off the back of it. So I just highly encourage everybody who's tackling this to evaluate, what do you really want to get out of it? If you give a little, you're going to get a little. If you give a lot, you're going to get a lot. So yeah, that's definitely my advice. Cool. I think we actually have some comments in the chat, some questions in the chat. I'm going to answer this one real quick, and then I'm going to ask the judging panel what they think on the second part of this question. But I got a question about why the challenge is called Why Before UI. I wish I had all the challenge architects on here, but the reason it was named this, and I think I had originally named it why the UI or something like that. But effectively, yeah, why before UI is because you have to understand why you're doing the thing before you do the thing. And if you don't, the thing that you do isn't going to be as good. So yeah, I think I had about a dozen kind of designers help me out, and they voted, and I went with what they said because it does make a lot of sense, right? You really need to understand the problem space, the context of the problem space, what you're doing ahead of doing any of the visual, just like Femke was recommending, right? Ask those questions, take that pause moment, and understand it before you jump in. Cool. Question for the judges. What advice would you give junior designers who are tackling the challenge without any real UX experience beyond bootcamp projects? So we had a few fresh out of bootcamp designers. Do you have any advice for them?
As a mentor in boot camps, I can say that, try to redo what you learned there, right? Like I was talking about process and improving it. So you can use what you learned in the boot camp and try to redo it in a different goal now, because most of the boot camps are actually, they are solving a problem, but they are not giving you metrics. They are not really giving you so many business goals. It's mainly about the user itself. And now here you'll be able to also achieve the business goals. That is like the normal life of you working at any company is not really just about thinking about the user, but also accomplishing it.
Yeah, I think that's great, right? That's also part of kind of why I wanted to build this type of challenge, is because exactly I was seeing that kind of gap in boot camps and a lot of the things that even these design challenges. This is not the only one that exists, right? Daily UI has been around for years and years and years and years, but it is really that design a weather app, design this feature, and no real context behind it. So yeah, I like that advice. Anything else for junior designers? We don't like junior designers.
We do. We love them.
Just kidding.
Just pace yourself and try to not launch Figma too early.
Keep the application closed until you ask some good questions.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I do at work as a senior designer. I'd say that I spend maybe 20, maybe 30% of my time in Figma doing some actual design work.
Yeah.
But most of my time, I'm just wearing a hat of a detective and then trying to figure out what is happening. And,
yeah.
I think something I would add is that often, when you're in these boot camps or even at traditional design school, like however you're learning, it's a lot of independent work. Whereas I find once you get into the real workforce, it's very collaborative. And so just a reminder to folks that, you don't have to go away into your design corner and work on your own in a little silo and then come back with these remarkable designs. I just want to encourage folks, to talk to people, and we talk a lot about talking to your users, but I also think you can get a lot of value out of talking to your teammates. Like, have conversations with your product manager, talk to engineering, talk to marketing, sales, customer support. Like, you're not on your own, and it should be a collective team effort. And so just a little reminder, and I think something that we don't quite get to experience when we're in these boot camps or learning design, because it's very siloed. But lean on your team around you, make the most of the expertise of the people on your team and pull them in to help you make decisions and get answers to things and get ideas.
That is brilliant. I did not think of that. I think that's very cool. I'd love to add on to that, just in case you're not necessarily, you don't have a team or something at the moment, or you're in between jobs, whatever it may be, or you're a junior trying to break into the industry. I would say utilize the community. I think this is a big one. I know that I looked at the kind of I'm gonna give away, but some of the judges have created really great examples of how they've tackled some of these prompts. And I even told them at the time that my, inside child designer, my junior designer, is like crying on the inside, because I would have loved this type of visibility into other designers' processes at an early stage in my career, which was just not something I was privy to. So definitely utilize the community, look at other designer solutions, ask questions, get in there, and just don't kind of miss this opportunity to engage with people who are either more senior than you or just your peer, even other juniors, and kind of questioning them. I think that's a big part of the benefit of doing this as a collective versus, like you're saying, Femke, as a silo. So if you're not in a position to go check with your team or other fellow designers, your network, definitely utilize the community to do exactly that. For sure. Cool. Awesome advice. Will there be any recommended readings supporting each prompt to support junior designers who haven't dealt with designing this level of challenge? So I will start off with, I have shared readings, a few kind of resources for designers to check into. I think it was in the prep email I sent a couple weeks ago. So if you missed that email, definitely go check that out. There's some links in there to a few glossaries. But bar none, and this is some of the advice that I was going to give, particularly for junior designers, is do the extra work. If you don't know something, if there's a word in there you do not understand, Google it. Do the additional research that you need to do. Or if there's a part of the process that, is really confusing to you, go look into it. If you do it now or you do it later on in your career when your stakeholders are asking you for it, it's going to be more beneficial to do it now. So I would just say, don't kind of constrain yourself to exactly what, the task at hand is. Utilize this as a way to expand your understanding of all of the things within it. Or maybe somebody's in the chat and the community is talking about something you don't understand. Utilize it once again as your kind of opportunity to expand your own understanding. So that's what I would say. There is a little bit of a couple resources I've sent in the prep email, but for the most part, it's on you. It's on you to look at these things. There's very intentionally, I have to say, not a lot of hand-holding, because when do we get hand-holding in our actual day-to-day? So it's hopefully I've marked the right balance. If just in case the judges aren't seeing the chat, there's like a ton of kudos coming in about getting to know you guys, about the challenge. So super cool. Let's see. I think there's just a couple logistical questions. I see that Carla, you have to go soon. You have another session to go to. So let me just kind of answer these last logistics questions, and then I'll see if the judges have anything else to say. Is there a certificate of completion that maybe you could add to your portfolio or resume? Is that something you guys want? Maybe I'll ask that in the Slack channel if that's something you want. That's probably something I could definitely build. So let me know right now in the chat, but I'll also be interacting with you guys over in Slack. I'm seeing lots of emojis come in. Okay, that's a good signal. So I don't have, the answer is no, I don't have it right now. But if it's something you guys want, it's probably doable. Cool. Is everything going forward done through the Slack channel, or do you let us know in the prompt what we need to submit? So in the prompt, in the emails that you get, it will be all included in there. And actually, that being said, I think it's the perfect time for me to send it. So within the next couple of minutes, everybody's going to get the first prompt in their email. Everything is in there. If you have questions, definitely, feel free to utilize the support channel. And then the format of how you submit your designs is also in there. So do you let us know? Image description. Yep, the format's totally in there. So that's all good to go. I think one last question. How does the AI transformation really affect the junior level roles or career starters? Last, I'll leave this question kind of open to you guys. How do you feel like AI kind of impacts the industry, I would say, for junior designers? Or if you think it does. Any thoughts?
I can start. As we all know, the market is not looking good, the job market, say not only in Europe but probably in the same states and everywhere in the world. So, but I wouldn't blame AI for doing that. It started before the AI became really embedded into our workflows. So I think there's still place or space for junior designers, and they will make a comeback. I believe in that, and that's what I'm trying to do personally. Each year, I'm trying to sneak in a new person into a company that I work for at the moment.
Trying to sneak them in, like through the back door.
No, not through the back door, but by creating some internship program or something like that.
Oh, nice.
So
Yeah.
I'm trying to give a chance to someone to start their career. It's been working, but I know many companies don't do that. So maybe we should do something about that.
Yeah, have more of those types of programs, right? I know my company also had a program like that, but that's dipped out. And like you said, a lot of companies have just been having budget cuts or reorgs or whatever things may be. I think we're at the tail end, but we've been in this kind of layoffs pandemic for quite some time. I think my 2 cents on the AI for junior roles is that AI is coming for some of the visual aspects of our roles, but it's not just AI that's been coming for that for quite some time. We've had design systems. They only get more elaborate, more complex, and the tools that you can utilize to build designs have been coming for quite some time, regardless of AI or not. It's just advancing more because of it. So yes, it will impact lower level roles. Maybe those things that you used to be able to do as junior designers, build a button, build a carousel, stuff like that, it's not going to be needed. Now, was that the most interesting type of work? No. So that's why I think the kind of skill set that this challenge really helps with is so much more paramount for kind of future-proofing your career as well, right? To be able to communicate what good looks like, to give the rationale and reason, to understand constraints, but also goals, utilize metrics and understanding. That's way more difficult for AI to be able to do and to do it convincingly. So I think the industry is in an unfortunate hold right now because of the budget cuts, but additionally, AI is going to be coming for that. So the more valuable you make your skill set, the more likely you'll be able to kind of survive and thrive in this industry going forward. Cool. I think I will leave it with any last words from judges, any advice for challengers or last remarks, and I think we'll probably just end the stream there. Anything?
I think I'd just like to add about AI and everything. I think Aric and Miranda gave some really good advice from that. I mean, we can definitely see not just a shift in junior roles, but I think in senior roles as well, on like how we update our workflows and everything. Like even where I work now, it's quite mandatory for us to like explore AI tools from like even just from Figma Make and Cursor and everything, where we have like sessions where we actually learn together and about these tools, and we try to build tools within our own company to help accelerate the workflow that we have. So yeah, I think it's exciting, but also pretty scary at the same time. But I think we should look at this at the positive side. I think Aric and Miranda did highlight all those information that's more in the positive side. So yeah, I think we do have to, every single one of us, not just the juniors, but us seniors, we have to step up as well in terms of our roles. We just don't have to be designers only. We have to like obviously be involved in product strategy and all of those and more. So yeah, I think that's just my 2 cents when thinking about AI and everything. But yeah,
it's a good point. It's not just impacting junior roles, right? Like maybe first, but definitely impacting probably design roles as a collective. Yeah, for sure. Cool. Any last words for the challengers? And then I think we'll sign off.
I would just say that regardless of the prizes that you can win each week, you should not think about this as a competition. You should just think about developing your own skills and making this change just for yourself.
Yeah.
Not try to compete with other guys. And as Miranda said, earlier, there is a community. We have this Slack community where you can join and ask questions if you're uncertain about different things, and then seek for help from other guys who are also learning.
Yeah, really good advice. Yeah, just do your best. It's not really a competition. Jobs aren't a competition, but definitely utilize the opportunity to learn from each other, for sure.
Yeah, I think even like every week you'll get like a different prompt and a different brief. But like even if that already ended, you can still ask questions to like your mentors or like maybe some of the judges on like what would we have done if we were being given this prompt in real life, or like what would we have done in this brief and all. So yeah, I think that's like the point of having a community. So yeah, just to add on to what Aric said.
Yeah, awesome. Nema, any thoughts?
Yeah, I would say like kind of tying it all together like with the AI thing, I would say like leverage the AI to like help you, like whether it's through this challenge or getting through like your design career. So instead of like run from it or hide from it, like definitely utilize it, use it to your advantage to give you ideas, and have a brainstorming session aside from like the community aspect, which also I agree with. But you can utilize both the community aspect and AI to kind of put together your ideas, and really it all boils down to problem solving, which the AI can't really do that well as you. And so that's the part that I would say like focus on, like from looking at it from a problem solving sort of perspective.
Totally. Ask the right questions, note your assumptions, whatever you got to do. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for this, taking the time out in your very different time zones to do this, and also for partaking in judging the submissions and helping people out and kind of understand what good looks like in terms of what it comes, when it comes to tackling these problems. So I guess that's the end of it, and we will see everybody in Slack for the most